Imagine a press room buzzing with energy. Then, in one heartbeat, it's dead silent. What just happened? It's a chilly February day in 2025, and Karoline Levit owns the podium in a major American city. She's wrapping up a briefing, her voice sharp and steady, slicing through a question about budget reforms like it's nothing. "It's about results, not talk," she says, cool as ice. Reporters nod, cameras hum, and the air feels routine. Pens scratch, lights flicker, just another day in the grind. But then a voice cuts in, sharp enough to stop time. "Miss Levit," it sneers, loaded with venom. A slick-haired reporter leans forward, his notepad clutched tight, his smirk daring her to blink. The room freezes. Every eye swings to Karoline. She stands tall, hands barely touching the podium, her face calm, almost too calm. A flicker dances in her eyes. Anger? Nerves? She hides it fast, flashing a polite smile that screams control. The crowd holds its breath. What's he up to? What's she going to do? He doesn't wait for guesses. "Don't you think?" he drawls, letting the words hang. "Someone with more years under their belt might handle this better?" The jab lands like a brick, bold and brutal, questioning her right to stand there. A low murmur spreads, tense, electric. Cameras zoom in, hunting for a flinch. Her aides swap quick glances, one whispering, the other nodding. The stakes just shot up and everyone feels it. The reporter taps his pen, tap, 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 grinning like he's already won. He's betting she'll crack, that she's out of her depth in this high-stakes world. But Karoline's no pushover. She's faced doubters before, outsmarted them every time with a mind that cuts deeper than their words. At 27, she's climbed fast, and that calm smile? It's a shield and a weapon. Why isn't she answering? The silence stretches, thick and heavy, pulling the room tighter. Will she snap back? Dodge? Or let this guy tank her in front of everyone? He's thrown a spark into dry grass, and it's about to catch fire. The crowd leans in, hooked, waiting for her to break or strike. One slip, and this could be the story that defines her or buries her. Then something shifts. A shadow moves at the back, subtle but real. An aide tenses, eyes darting. A veteran reporter tilts his head, sensing the change. The air crackles with something big, something no one saw coming. That slick-haired reporter doesn't miss a beat after his first shot lands. He straightens in his chair, his mid-30s swagger on full display, notepad clutched like a trophy. "Miss Levit," he drawls, voice thick with mockery, "don't the American people deserve someone they can trust when the chips are down?" The words drop like stones into the February chill of that major city press room, each one heavier than the last. Karoline Levit stands at the podium, her polite smile holding steady, but her aides catch a flash in her hazel eyes, something fierce, buried quick behind that calm facade. He's not done. He leans in, his smirk stretching wider, sensing blood in the water. "I mean, this isn't a game for rookies, right?" It's a cheap shot dressed up as concern, and it hits hard. The crowd stirs, a restless hum spreads, eyes darting between him and her. Cameras tighten their focus, lenses zeroing in on her every move. Her aides swap tense glances, one muttering under her breath, the other nodding stiffly. The air turns thick, electric, like a storm about to break. That pen in his hand starts tapping, tap, tap, tap. Each click a taunt, a countdown to her unraveling. He's got the room tilting his way now, reporters scribbling fast, a gray-haired veteran in the front row raising an eyebrow. Is she out of her depth? The question hangs unspoken, but it's loud in every mind. He's betting she'll crack, that she can't handle the heat of this stage. His confidence is a wall, built brick by brick with every second. She doesn't respond. But Karoline doesn't flinch. She's faced tougher rooms, sharper tongues, and come out on top every time. That smile stays, cool, unshaken, a quiet slap to his arrogance. He misses it, but others don't. A woman in the back, phone in hand, whispers to her friend, "She's not rattled. Watch this." The veteran journalist scratches a note, his pen moving with purpose. Even the camera guy shifts closer, mic poised, like he's waiting for the spark to ignite. Why is she so quiet? It's the puzzle everyone's wrestling with. Is she frozen? Plotting? That silence stretches, sharp and tight, pulling the crowd deeper into her orbit. The reporter's grin flickers, just a hair, as he sprawls back, legs out, still sure he's winning. He's pegged her as too new, too soft for this fight, and he's ready to watch her sink. But he's misread her. She's not soft, she's a blade, honed and waiting, and that stillness is her strength. The tension coils tighter, a wire ready to snap. His pen slows, tap, tap, a crack of doubt slipping through his cocky mask. Did he push too far? Is she about to flip the script? The room feels it, leaning in, hooked on her next move. A shadow stirs at the back, subtle but growing. An aide tenses, eyes narrowing. The veteran journalist tilts his head, catching the shift. Whatever's brewing, it's close, and it's about to turn this whole scene upside down. Karoline Levit stands like a statue behind that podium, her polite smile carved in stone as the reporter's taunts still ripple through the room. His latest barb, "This isn't a game for rookies," hangs in the February air, daring her to prove him right. Her hazel eyes flicker, a storm brewing beneath the calm, but she keeps it caged. Her aides notice her fingers tighten, just a fraction, on the podium's edge, a hint of the fire she's holding back. The crowd watches, breath caught, waiting for her to snap or speak. That slick-haired guy isn't backing off. He lounges in his chair, pen tapping a steady rhythm, tap, 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 like he's conducting her downfall. His smirk says he's got her pegged, a rookie who'll buckle under the weight of his words. But the room's shifting. A woman in the back, phone clutched tight, nudges her friend, whispering, "She's playing him, look." A gray-haired reporter up front leans forward, his notepad open, pen poised. Even the camera guy tweaks his gear, sensing the air's about to crackle. Her silence isn't weakness. It's a weapon, and it's cutting deeper than he knows. Every second she holds it, his confidence frays. That tapping slows, tap, tap, his grin twitching as uncertainty creeps in. Did he overplay his hand? The crowd feels the shift too, their restless energy tilting toward her. She's not just standing there, she's pulling them in, making them question who's really in control. Why hasn't she answered? Is she crumbling or coiling to strike? She's faced worse than this guy. Late nights, brutal debates, skeptics who laughed until she left them speechless. She's built her spine from steel. At 27, she's outsmarted doubters twice her age, and this is just another test. Her smile stays, a quiet dare, and it's starting to unnerve him. He shifts in his seat, legs uncrossing, his notepad slipping an inch. He thought he'd break her, but now he's wondering if she's breaking him. The room buzzes with unspoken bets. Will she let him bury her? Or turn his words into ashes? Aides exchange glances, one nods, the other adjusts her stance, both trusting she's got this. The woman in the back lifts her phone, ready to catch the moment it flips. The gray-haired reporter scribbles faster, his eyes narrowing. He's seen showdowns before, and this one's got teeth. The camera guy leans in, mic angled, every nerve on edge. That tension's a live wire now, sparking brighter with every heartbeat. His pen stalls, tap, and his smirk fades, just a shadow of what it was. He's misread her, and it's sinking in. She's not a rookie, she's a force, and that silence is her shield, her sword, her stage. The crowd's hooked, leaning closer, desperate for her next move. A shadow looms larger at the back, footsteps echoing faint but firm. An aide stiffens, head turning. The gray-haired reporter catches it, his pen pausing. Whatever's coming, it's not waiting much longer. A voice booms through the press room like a crack of thunder, shattering the standoff. Is this what we're doing now? It roars, bold and biting, pulling every head around. Donald Trump strides forward, his broad frame cutting through the February gloom of that major American city. His red tie flashes under the lights, his face a mix of smirk and steel, and the crowd erupts, gasps, whispers, a sudden flurry of motion. Karoline Levit stays rooted at the podium, her polite smile softening just a touch as she meets his gaze. The slick-haired reporter jolts upright, his notepad nearly slipping from his grip. He scrambles to recover, but Trump's already at a mic, his voice rolling over the room like a freight train. "We're grilling people for being young? That's your big move," he snaps, dripping with sarcasm. The tension pops. A quick laugh ripples through the crowd, sharp and bright, like ice breaking underfoot. Aides swap stunned glances, one mouthing a silent "wow" to the other. The gray-haired reporter chuckles, shaking his head, while the woman in the back fumbles her phone, thumbs flying to record. Trump doesn't let up. "Listen up," he says, leaning in, eyes locked on the reporter. "We've got a room full of sharp minds, and the best you've got is she's not old enough? Come on, pal." The crowd buzzes louder, some nod, others scribble furiously. The camera guy grins, tweaking his gear to catch every word. Karoline stands still, her hazel eyes flicking to Trump, then back to the sea of faces. She hasn't spoken, but she doesn't need to. His voice is a battering ram, and she's letting it swing. The reporter tries to rally, his voice thin but stubborn. "Look, it's a fair point," he stammers, clutching his notepad tighter. "Experience counts. Someone seasoned could." Trump cuts him off with a hand, sharp as a blade. "Fair? Nah, it's lazy," he fires back, his stare pinning the guy like a laser. "I've heard lazy my whole life. I can spot it a mile away. You're not after truth. You're fishing for a cheap win, and it's not happening." That lands hard. The room shifts again. Heads bob, a few yes slip out from the back. The woman with the phone whispers, "He's right," her eyes wide. The gray-haired reporter scratches a note, a spark in his tired gaze. Cameras hum, soaking in the clash. Karoline's smile holds, but her eyes gleam. Pride, maybe, or something fiercer. The reporter shrinks an inch, his pen still, his swagger fading fast. Trump's not done. "You think youth's a flaw," he presses, voice rising. "She's been outsmarting folks twice her age since day one. Guts, brains, the whole deal. She's standing there while you lob softballs and you're sweating it." He jabs a finger at the guy, who sinks lower in his seat. The crowd stirs, more nods, more murmurs. Aides watch Karoline, seeing her shoulders relax, her breath steady. She's not just enduring this, she's rising with it. That shadow at the back isn't a shadow anymore. Trump's presence fills the space, and the room's alive with it. Whispers turn to a low roar, like wind whipping through dry leaves. The reporter's head jerks toward the sound, his cool slipping further. Karoline glances too, just a flick, but stays steady as rock. The gray-haired reporter leans back, pen tapping his chin. The woman's phone catches it all, her voice hushed but urgent. "This is going viral. Something's about to blow wide open and no one's looking away." Donald Trump stands tall, his voice thundering through the press room, rattling the February air in that major American city. "Karoline Levit's got more fire than half this town," he booms, his eyes drilling into the slick-haired reporter, who's wilting under the spotlight. "She's outsmarting the old guard every day. Guts and brains you can't teach." He thrusts a hand toward her, and the crowd catches the flame. Claps burst out, sharp and loud, a few voices shouting, "That's right." Karoline stays at the podium, her polite smile warming into something bolder, her hazel eyes glinting with quiet defiance. The reporter's fading fast, his face pales, his hands empty of that smug notepad, drowned out by the rising tide of noise. Trump keeps the heat on. "You think she's green?" he snaps, his tone biting. "She's running circles around folks who've been coasting for decades. That's why she's here, and why you're scrambling." The gray-haired reporter rises, clapping with a steady rhythm, his weathered grin saying he's seen enough to believe. The woman in the back leaps up, phone wobbling as she films, whispering, "This is gold. Karoline's the real deal." Karoline feels the shift, subtle but seismic. Her stance softens, her breath evens, but those eyes, they're alive, burning brighter. She locks onto Trump for a beat, a quick nod passing between them, his signal clear. "Take it and run." He smirks back, a flash of pride cutting through his usual edge. Cameras zero in, catching the spark, the way she turns a cheap shot into fuel without even opening her mouth. Trump lowers his voice, sharp and deliberate. You've got people in this game who've sat still too long. Same old nothing, he says, scanning the room. She's different. She's moving the needle, and it's got you rattled. His gaze snaps back to the reporter, who's shrunk smaller, his pen long gone. The crowd hums. Nods ripple out, a young guy near the wall muttering, "She's the one." The woman's phone buzzes, texts flying in. She's unstoppable. This is it. She's got more fight than most. Trump rolls on, his voice climbing again. Ideas that hit hard. Heart that doesn't quit. You want to talk trust? Look at the people who see her and think, yeah, she's got us. He gestures wide, like he's pointing to every street beyond those walls, and the room responds. Some murmur agreement, others sit wide-eyed, hooked. The gray-haired reporter jots a note, his lips twitching upward. The camera guy adjusts his lens, soaking in her steady glow. The reporter tries to claw back. Experience still. He croaks, but Trump shuts it down, quick as a whip. Experience? The kind that's left us spinning? No thanks. I'll bet on her edge over that any day. He shoots Karoline a glance, part grin, part challenge. She's not here to sit pretty. She's here to stir it up. Claps swell again, rolling through the space. Aides join in, one whispering, "She's on fire now." The woman in the back grips her phone tighter, her friend nodding fast. Half the room's feeling it, the air thick with something new. Karoline takes it in, steady as ever, her silence louder than the noise. That reporter's taunt was a pebble. She's turning it into a mountain, and Trump's fanning the flames. The gray-haired reporter leans back, watching her rise. The woman's thumbs dance, her posts already lighting up. Karoline Levit's taking over. Trump holds his ground, arms crossed, letting her moment build. The room's buzzing, alive with questions. What's she going to do with this? The answer's close, simmering just under the surface. Donald Trump steps back from the mic, his point hammered home with a final, satisfied nod. "She's the spark we've been missing," he says, his voice steady and sure, cutting through the February buzz of that major American city press room. Don't like it? Line up. She's here. And she's real. He shoots Karoline Levit a sharp look, pride wrapped in a challenge, then eases aside, arms crossed, leaving the stage hers. The crowd doesn't hesitate. Applause explodes, a rolling thunder of claps and cheers, feet stomping in the back. Karoline stands at the podium, her presence towering now, that polite smile melting into something radiant, something unstoppable. The slick-haired reporter slumps in his chair, a shadow of his earlier strut, just a guy with a crumpled notepad and a bruised ego. The room's moved on, swept up in the wave lifting her higher. The gray-haired reporter stands again, his slow claps a badge of respect from a man who's seen it all. The woman in the back keeps filming, her voice trembling with awe. Karoline's the future. This is history right here. A lady in a gray coat near the front clutches her notes, eyes misty as she whispers, "She's what I'd tell my kid to be." Even the camera guy's grinning ear to ear, his lens glued to her every move. Karoline takes a breath, her first real pause since the storm kicked off. The crowd quiets, leaning in, hungry for what's next. "Thank you," she says, her voice clear and warm, ringing out with a strength that fills the space. "I'm here for the people who want action, not just words. Experience? That's earned through work, and I'm just getting started." The words land like fireworks, short, bright, blazing, and the room erupts again, louder, fiercer. A young guy near the wall yells, "Let's go," then clamps a hand over his mouth, cheeks red but beaming. The woman's phone lights up, comments pouring in. "She's a queen. This is our time." She sweeps her gaze across them all, those hazel eyes steady, drinking in the faces, the energy, the trust. She's weathered the doubter, ridden the fire, and now she's soaring. The gray-haired reporter jots one last line. Levit's the name to know, then shuts his notepad, a rare grin breaking through. The lady in the gray coat stands, clapping through her tears, her friend joining her, then another, until half the room's on its feet. Aides beam, one murmuring, "That's her, our fighter." The camera guy adjusts a shot, catching the strength in her stance, the grace in her quiet victory. Trump watches from the sidelines, his nod slow and approving. He leans to an aide, voice low. Told you, she's the one. The aide nods back, eyes fixed on Karoline. The applause doesn't fade. It grows, a tide that won't pull back. Reporters scramble, typing fast. Levit shines. Trump backs a winner, their fingers racing to capture the moment. The lady in the gray coat tucks her notes away, her voice soft but firm. My girl's hearing this tonight. The young guy lingers, staring at Karoline like she's lit the sky. She steps back from the podium, her work here sealed. Not just the briefing, but the fight. That reporter's trap flipped into her springboard, his question now her crown. He stays seated, head down, invisible as the room surges without him. She's won, not just the clash, but the belief of everyone watching, from that press room to the streets beyond. The woman in the back hits send on her video. Karoline Levit just took it all, and her feed explodes. She's my vote. This is what we need. As she heads for the door, Trump catches her eye one last time. Keep it rolling, kid, he says, half teasing, half serious, his grin wide. She laughs, a light, genuine sound, and nods back. Count on it. The door swings shut behind her, but the energy doesn't stop. Her name's already echoing, a ripple turning into a wave, a beacon for anyone who's ever been told they don't fit. America's listening now, and they won't forget her anytime soon. So, folks, what do you think? Does she have what it takes to keep that fire burning?